Good morning, everybody. How's everybody doing today? So just checking in, we do have a quorum. We have 4 EIB members here this morning in person, and then we have member Hunker on the platform. And I believe Vice Chair Trujillo Davis is going to be coming up. She ran into a little traffic on her way up. So we do have a quorum, so I'm going to call the meeting to order. And Ms. Jones, would you please do roll call for us this morning?
Yes, I will. Good morning. Member Bitzer, are you present?
I am.
Member Ely?
Present.
Member Garcia?
Here.
Member Honker?
I am here.
We can see you, we can't hear you.
I
there
am
you go.
here. Can you hear me now? I'm unmuted.
Let's see. He's unmuted.
Yeah,
Try again, Mr.
Test,
Honker.
test, test. I think Pam heard me a
It
minute
was
ago.
working earlier.
Yeah.
Well, I see you and I'm going to count you here and I'm going to move on, but we'll work on that audio, okay? Chair Sweeney
present.
and Vice Chair Trujillo is on en route, so I'll note that she's not here for the roll call. You have a quorum.
Thank you, Ms. Jones. We will now go to item number 2, which is the approval of the March 28, 2025 agenda. Yes, Member Garcia.
To approve the agenda with one change. Sorry, I didn't have the microphone on. I move to approve the agenda with one change. Item 3, approval of February regular meeting minutes needs to be taken off because we have no minutes to approve for that meeting.
Thank you, Member Garcia.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Member Bitzer. So we'll address amend the agenda with that deletion of item number 3 with that. Yes, yeah, with that, is there any other discussion now that we have a motion? No other discussion. Ms. Jones, would you please do a roll call vote?
Yes, to approve the amended agenda. Member Bitzer, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
And Member Ely?
Yes.
Member Garcia?
Yes.
Member Honker?
Yes.
I see
Yes.
the thumbs up. We got to work on that audio. Chair Sweeney
Yes.
and Vice Chair Trujillo is not here. Okay, the motion passes.
Thank you, Ms. Jones. With that, we will go to agenda item now will be number 3, public comment. Ms. Jones, do we have anybody on the platform or in person? I don't see nobody here in person except for the parties that will be presenting. Ms. Jones, do we have anybody on the platform that's raised their hand?
No, I haven't heard from anyone that wishes to make general public comment this morning.
Thank you, Ms. Jones. All right, with that, we'll go on to agenda item number 4, which is now EIB 25-10 R in the matter of proposed repeal and replacement of 20.2.70 NMAC operating permits and Title 5 program revision. And thank you, Mr. Vigil and folks here today to present. I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you so much, Chris Vigil, Assistant General Counsel, New Mexico Environment Department. I'm joined here today by Neil Butt and Eric Peters, the planning section of the Air Quality Bureau, and I'll turn it over to Mr. Butt. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. My name is Neil Butt. I'm an environmental analyst with the Air Quality Bureau with the New Mexico Environment Department, which I'll refer to this department. I'm here to present a petition for regulatory change and to request a public hearing for the department's proposal to repeal and replace 20.2.70 NMAC operating permits. I will refer to this rule as Part 70. This rule is not part of our state implementation plan or SIP, but instead is part of our Title V program. The State Record Center and Archives is requiring that this rule be repealed and replaced because the formatting is out of date. But to better illustrate the proposed changes, a red line strikeout version is being provided along with the statement of reasons attached to the petition. The purpose of the proposed amendments is to address a mandate by the United States Environmental Protection Agency, or EPA, directing the removal of certain affirmative defense provisions in New Mexico's Title V operating permit program at 20.2.70.304 in MAC emergency provision. In addition, EPA commented that one of our applicable requirements, cited at 40 CFR 70.2(7) is missing from the definition of applicable requirement at subsection E of 20.2.70.7 in MAC. Excuse me. To address this deficiency, new text is proposed in paragraph 7 of subsection E of 20.2.70.7 in MAC. The department has also identified an incongruity between the federal rule at 40 CFR 70.2 applicable requirement and the current New Mexico Title V permit regulation at paragraphs 11 and 12 of subsection E of 20.2.70.7 in MAC. There's also an outdated reference to total suspended particulate matter at paragraph 1 of subsection AC of 20.2.70.7 in MAC. Specifically, the limits for maximum allowable concentrations of total suspended particulate, or TSP, in the ambient air previously stipulated by 20.2.3 in MAC ambient air quality standards at 20.2.3.109 in MAC total suspended particulates were repealed effective November 30th, 2018. On July 12th of 2023, the EPA removed the emergency affirmative defense provisions from the Clean Air Act operating permit program Title V regulations at 40 CFR 70.6(g), which is applicable to state, local, and tribal permitting authorities, and 71.6(g), applicable when EPA is the permitting authority. These provisions establish an affirmative defense that stationary sources could have asserted to avoid liability in enforcement cases brought for non-compliance with technology-based emission limits contained in the source's Title V permit, provided that the source demonstrated that excess emissions occurred due to qualifying emergency circumstances. These emergency affirmative defense provisions have never been required elements of the state operating permit program or of individual operating permits. Nonetheless, some state, local, and tribal programs have adopted such provisions and include these affirmative defenses in Title V permits. The EPA is removing the emergency affirmative defense provisions in 40 CFR 70.6(g) and 71.6(g) because they're inconsistent with the EPA's current interpretation of the enforcement structure of the Clean Air Act in light of prior court decisions from the U.S. Court of Appeals for the D.C. Circuit, primarily the court's 2014 decision in Natural Resources Defense Council versus EPA. State, local, and tribal permitting authorities whose Title V programs contain impermissible affirmative defense provisions must submit program revisions to EPA to remove such impermissible provisions from their EPA-approved Title V programs. The EPA expects that states with Title V programs containing impermissible affirmative defense provisions will submit to the EPA either a program revision or a request for an extension of time within 12 months of the effective date of this final rule. In other words, August 21st, 2024. On August 21st of 2024, the department submitted a letter to the EPA requesting an extension of this deadline until August 21st, 2025. On September 17th, 2024, this request was granted by EPA. States must also remove Title V based affirmative defense provisions contained in individual operating permits. The EPA encourages states to remove these provisions at their earliest convenience. EPA expects that any necessary permit changes should occur in the ordinary course of business, as states process periodic permit renewals or other unrelated permit modifications. At the latest, states must remove affirmative defense provisions from individual permits during the next permit revision or periodic permit renewal for the source that occurs following either 1, the effective date of this rule, in other words, August 21st of 2023, for permit terms based on 40 CFR 70.6 per NG or 71.6 per NG, or 2, EPA's approval of a state program revision for permit terms based on an affirmative defense provision in an EPA approved Title V program. To comply with these requirements of the EPA mandate, the department is petitioning the board to remove the affirmative defense provision of its operating permit standards at 20.2.70.304 NMAC emergency provision. The department requests that a hearing on this regulation be scheduled for June 27th, 2025. During the hearing, direct testimony by the department is expected to last 2 hours or less. The department would also like to respectfully request a court reporter and hearing officer. Thank you for your consideration of this request.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. Do you have any questions for Mr. Butt?
Thank you, Mr. Vihel and NMED for your presentation. Looking to the members, do you have any questions of our presenters today? Yes, Member Garcia.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll ask the question I always ask, which is, do you anticipate any opposition to these regulatory changes?
No, I don't think, have we heard anything? It's been,
No, Madam Chair, members of the board, Member Garcia. We went out for stakeholder comment for 30 days and received no comments from them. I sent the draft rule to EPA, and the only suggestion they had was there's an applicable requirement that's in the CFR that's not in our rule. So they asked me to put that in. Then the State Record Center had some suggestions. They want to do a repeal and replace because the format's not to their liking. And so, I mean, they call it repeal and replace. I don't think about it that way. So I do a red line strikeout so you can see what we'd like to change in your rule. So that's one comment. And so I'm going to do a repeal and replace. Another comment is that hoping and assuming that you adopt these changes, they're going to want the history note to say that it's a repeal and not an amendment, which is sort of like housekeeping. And I didn't put it in your draft because I don't want to get, the cart in front of the horse and assume that you already adopted it. So I waiting to adopt it and I file it, and then I'll change that history note. And then the last part is the effective date right now shows the effective date of the last time you approved a revision to this rule. And I have to wait until I testify and you say yes, and then I file it to put in a date, because I have a hopeful date, but I can't put it in there until it actually happens. So I will be changing the effective date, and they asked me to do that. Other than that, I've had no input from industry or the public or anybody else, concerned citizens so far.
Thank you.
Thank you for your response. Is there any other questions, members? I have one. I know just in terms of logistics and information for the board to consider in terms of scheduling. So you are requesting June 27th? Is that what?
So
Or June?
yes, June 27th. That's
June
correct.
27th. Is that a pretty firm date that you might, or could we move it if we need to, just
I'm sure it's flexible.
flexible?
Yeah, we prefer flexible moving into the future as opposed to you guys know, we have a lot that we're bringing to you, so we're trying to be mindful of not overburdening the EIB and, but also just kind of clearing the plate for us in the future. So if it's going to be moved, preferably into the future.
Like in July, if that?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Yep. So, I'm looking to the members and if, your thoughts about this petition and, the logistics of, the request, for a hearing officer, for a meeting, for a hearing, and when. So, I don't know. Yes, Vice Chair.
I'll just ask that we push it a little further, maybe into July. I will not be available June 27th.
Thank you for that. Anybody else have any scheduling considerations with your summer plans? And Member Hunker, are you able to unmute and
Can you hear me now?
still?
No?
Okay. So Member Hunker, do you have any issues or calendar considerations for this summer, for June, July? No, okay, thank you. Yes. Member Garcia?
Vice Chair Trujillo, did you say Fridays were better for you? Is that still the case? Okay, okay.
All right. And just to note, as we look at our agenda today, there will be another hearing. And just again, clarity, you thought maybe 2 hours for this hearing? Is that what?
That's just a generous estimate. If there's no pushback, I could, could be an hour, probably. Maybe less.
Thank
I
you.
don't expect, I'm sorry, I don't expect resistance. That was just a cautious, conservative estimate.
I haven't taken a look at your testimony yet, but do you anticipate your testimony to be much longer than what you presented today?
Possibly twice as long, so not long.
Okay. We could probably do a summary too. I mean, we could probably do testimony in 15 or 20 minutes or something like that.
Thank you, Mr. Vihel. Thank you for that information. With that, yes, Member E.
Well, I'm just wondering if it makes sense then to have it during our regularly scheduled meeting in July on the 25th. Or is that too far out?
Yeah, I might not be here actually on July 25th. So if we could move it up, the 18th, yes. Yes, Vice Chair Trujillo.
Would it be possible, and I'll ask Mr. Vihil and as well as you, Madam Chair, if you have any opposition that starts to present itself and it looks like this might become a larger issue where more time is needed, if you could work with the hearing officer to maybe move the date or adjust accordingly so we're not trying to squeeze it all into one day.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Yes, so if we're looking at Friday, July 18th. And as for a hearing officer, do we?
It sounds like it's pro forma. One of
Yeah.
us could do it, I'm sure.
Yeah,
She can be on the 25th. So,
or we, yeah, for this one. Yes, Member Ely?
Just, our board attorney, Rebecca, I'm just wondering, do you have a sense of Eduardo's schedule and would he be available on the 18th? Because if we're going to have a board member do play the role of a hearing officer, it'd be great to make sure we have counsel available.
Thank you, Member Ely, for that, and that's a great point.
Yes.
Correct.
He's open. Your board attorney is open on July 18th. And I'm taking notes, so he'll know to block that before.
Thank you. So it looks like July 18th, a good date, and if a board member would like to serve as a hearing officer, we can also consider that. Yes, Member Garcia.
I can volunteer for that one. Love the easy ones.
Thank you, Member Garcia. All right, so it looks like we have some discussion about a hearing officer, a date. And may I entertain a motion?
I know Mr. Honker would raise his hand and speak up if he could, but I propose that we hold a hearing for EIB 25-10 in the matter of proposed repeal and replace of 20.2.70 NMAC operating permits and Title V program revisions on July 18th, 2025, with Member Garcia as hearing officer.
Also get that.
Thank you, Member Ely and Member Bitzer for your second. I don't see any further discussion. Looking to Member Hunker. All right, with that, Ms. Jones, would you please do a roll call vote on Member Ely's motion?
I will. Member Bitzer, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
And Member Ely,
Yes.
Member Garcia,
Yes,
Member Honker?
Yes.
We still have audio. Okay, that's in the affirmative. Chair Sweeney
Yes.
and Vice Chair Trujillo.
Yes.
The motion passes.
Thank you, Ms. Jones, and thank you, Mr. Vigil, and our other guest here today, Mr. Black.
Yes.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Black.
Thank you so much.
All right, and with that, we will go on to agenda item number 5, which is EIB 25-11R in the matter of proposed new regulation 11.5.7 NMAC, heat, illness, and injury prevention. Request for hearing, we have Mr. Prince as counsel for NMED. Good morning.
Good morning, Chair Sweeney, members of the board. It's Michael Prince, New Mexico, Assistant General Counsel with the New Mexico Environment Department. Also present with me is Bob Genoway, now the Acting Deputy Director of the new Enforcement and Compliance Division in the NMED. And also present is Christy Peck. She's Acting Bureau Chief of the Occupational Health and Safety. And we're here this morning on the petition that was filed earlier this month to ask the board to adopt a new regulation, a new heat, illness, and injury prevention occupational health and safety regulation. This would be a new section of the administrative code in that occupational health and safety section of the code. I mean, I'm happy to, we can present the statement of, basically in a very simplified nutshell, this new heat, illness, and prevention, illness and injury prevention rule will create reasonable rules that employers must employ to keep their workers safe from exposure to extreme heat, such as provide shade, rest periods, cool drinking water, acclimatization for workers that have been not working in the heat for a time. And measures such as this, which are well known to protect workers, very reasonable regulations. I think most employers are already employing these rules or these measures to protect their workers. But this would be an important new rule that we're excited to bring before the board, and that we believe will be really life-saving for workers here in New Mexico. We are requesting 2 days. I think that would be sufficient. We requested June 24 and 25th, which I believe is a Tuesday and Wednesday of that week. We do anticipate certainly public interest in this rule and interest from industries, especially certain industries such as agriculture, construction, oil and gas, where they have a lot of workers working out in the heat. And so for that reason, we are asking for 2 days, just to be sure to allow all parties to present their views on this proposed rule, as well as just members of the public and members, representatives of labor organizations or health and safety sector. So with that, I will stand for questions if there are any, or certainly with Mr. Genoway can present more specifics as to the rule, the proposed rule, if any members would like to.
Thank you, Mr. Prince. Members of the board, do you have any questions? Yes, Member Ely?
So Mr. Genoway, or Deputy Genoway, Acting Deputy Genoway, I'm curious as to which sectors of are interested in this, have expressed interest, and how many petitioners do you anticipate?
Madam Chair, members of the board, at this time, we don't have a number of opposition parties that might come to testify. We do know that there are certain industry sectors, such as the construction industry and oil and gas industry, that will want to present their views on the standard. You may be aware that there is a federal standard that was proposed and with comment period last year. And so we expected some of those same industry groups that presented information, comments for the federal standard would also do so here in New Mexico with their local representatives.
Thank you, Mr. Genoway. Any other follow-up?
And so have you done stakeholder outreach, and what kind of response have you gotten from which sectors of the industry?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair and members of the board. We've petitioned the board, and at the same time, we're scheduling an open comment period for 60 days starting April 1st. So running from April through May. And also during that same period of time, we'll be holding meetings with individual stakeholder groups in those industries, as well as with labor groups and advocacy groups for labor. And then also during close to the end of that 60-day comment period, the OSHA Bureau will be conducting virtual and in-person meetings with industry, with labor groups, and with the general public.
Thank you.
Thank you, Member Ely, for your questions. Thank you for the responses. And I think Vice Chair Trujillo had some comments, and then we'll go to Member Bitzer after.
Thank you. And my questions follow along with Member Ely's questions as well. And did you say you had a draft rule that you were requesting comments on for the next 60 days? Did I understand that correctly?
Yes, Madam Chair and Vice Chair, the OSHA Bureau has posted a draft rule that would help facilitate that comment and stakeholder outreach that we'll be conducting over the next couple of months.
Okay. And does your stakeholder outreach also include public public sessions as well as contacting the trade organizations individually?
Yes, Madam Chair and Vice Chair, the OSHA Bureau will be conducting outreach over the next 2 months, and then toward the end of that 2-month period, we'll be holding multiple town hall meeting events. One that will focus on industry groups, one that will focus on labor groups, and then a third virtual meeting that will be open to the public in general.
And where are your town halls going to be located?
Right now, we're looking at scheduling those in Albuquerque and then also opening each of those meetings up virtually to make sure that we get statewide participation.
So you mentioned specifically that oil and gas was going to be one of the groups that was likely have a comments on this particular role. Have you considered having town halls in Southeast or up in the Farmington area as well?
So the Madam Chair and Vice Chair, the OSHA Bureau currently and for years has had participatory groups from both of those regions of the state for the oil and gas industry. And so as we proceed through the next 2 months, we'll make sure that we are communicating with those groups. For example, there's a group called the Southeast Steps Network. It's a network of safety professionals that represents the vast majority of companies within the oil and gas industry. And then the Four Corners Safety Network in the Farmington and San Juan Basin area, same thing. We've got representatives, safety representatives, again, from all the major players in the oil and gas industry in that part of the state that we have an ongoing relationship with, that we will conduct specific outreach to those groups to make sure that we get full participation. Certainly don't want to come into a hearing with surprises from those groups. We want to be communicating with them through this entire process. But as far as individual meetings, we haven't, based on resources, we haven't determined at this point in time that we're able to hold individual meetings, in-person meetings in those parts of the state. But if it appears between now and the end of that comment period that it's necessary, it's certainly we consider.
And just from my education in this matter, does that network include primarily producers on like a higher level, or does that include safety organizations that are supporting the field personnel?
So, Madam Chair and Vice Chair, the safety representatives are the actual employees of each of those companies that participates in those groups that the OSHA Bureau has regular meetings with.
Okay, thank you for answering the questions.
Thank you, Vice Chair Trujillo and Member Bitzer.
Real quick, I'm not sure who might the authority be on this, but I'm just curious as if there is data about injuries or fatalities in the workplace related to heat in New Mexico. I imagine Arizona, where it's 125, air conditioning fails, you might die. But I'm not so sure. Is there some sort of New Mexico data to support this need?
So, Madam Chair and members, there is data nationwide that we can look at. As far as New Mexico, with the small population, the numbers are a little bit harder to parse out as far as work-related injuries, because there's no reporting requirement for those types of injuries. So often emergency room visits, for example, go undocumented as far as the cause. And so those numbers are specific to occupational events, are hard to parse out. However, we do in our statement of reasons, for example, provide the larger data sets of emergency room visits and increases over a number of years here in New Mexico.
Okay, thank you, Member Bitzer and Member Ely.
Um, This is a little bit around the logistics. If you're taking public comment April through May, Mr. Genoway, and then finalize the role to the best of your ability for the NOI. I believe you have 30 days between filing and then the hearing. AIR has 60, which is why we hear, I think, why we hear the AIR stuff earlier. They file their submission petitions earlier. Are you going to have enough time between May and June to meet those public notice requirements? You've probably done the timeline and have it all worked out. I just need to work it out in my head. Thanks.
Right, Madam Chair, Member Ely, we know that we're going to have some work cut out for us during that short period of time between the end of the comment period and the requested hearing date. But Mr. Prince can maybe help answer that question. But we've laid out a timeline that we believe will work to get the rule heard, and then, of course, if adopted, in place, as we're still entering the hot months of this year. So that's why we've really tried to to push a fairly aggressive timeline here.
Thank you. Mr. Prince, do you have a follow-up?
Yeah, thank you, Chair Smina, members of the board. Yeah, unless I'm mistaken, the rule only requires a 30-day comment period, but I do think we prefer to have a longer comment period, 60 days. And I do think with the timeline, yeah, it's tight, it's a close one, but I believe that we can get a 60-day comment period done by the requested hearing dates, unless I'm just miscalculating, but
Excuse me.
Yes,
So the
Member
public
Ely.
notice requirement is only 30 days by rule,
that's my understanding. Yes.
and you want to provide a little more if you
Provide a
can.
lot more, yeah.
Great. Thank you.
Yes, Vice Chair and then Member Garcia.
Again, kind of following up on Member Ely's line of questioning, with that tight time frame, the comment period ends in May, correct? Are you planning on addressing the comments in that same 30-day time frame?
Yeah, Chair, Vice Chair Trujillo, yes, we don't have to do, we definitely do plan on responding to comments. Many of the comments might be, classified as the one general area of comment that we can maybe address many comments. Because we do anticipate there'll be a lot of just individuals providing comments, as was done like with the Fed's proposed heat standard. But we do strive to respond to all comments. And yeah, that does take a little bit of time to look at the comment and come up with a response. But there might be some comments that are more we go more in depth into a response than others. A bit of a vague answer, I guess, but yeah, we do intend to respond to comments.
Okay, so you're intending on to provide response to the comments made. Are you intending to incorporate any of the potential comments back into your rule change, or? Yeah.
Possibly. I mean, that's something we have to, look at the comments, consider them, and then look at the proposed rule, and if we do believe it's a change to the proposed rule would be wise and prudent, then we will do so.
And this time frame will work for you?
Hopefully, yes. Yeah, I mean, we know we have our work cut out for us. So this will be, big, really devoting resources to that this summer and, or this rule, the proposed rule. We'll do our best.
Okay, thank you. I don't have any more questions.
Thank you, Vice Chair Trujillo and Member Garcia.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm just starting to look at the dates and considering this may be a little more contentious, we probably need an outside hearing officer. So
Yes.
can't remember if Pam, if you said that a hearing officer might be available the 24th, 25th.
Yes, that's correct. She specifically stated Fridays.
Oh, okay.
So you're looking at the 24th, 25th of July?
June is what.
June.
Oh, June.
Yeah.
Sorry. June, she's not available.
Okay, and then Vice Chair Trujillo is also out that last week of June. So with
Oh.
that, Mr. Prince, is there, I know hearing the presentation that there's a desire to, because of the hot summers that we have here in New Mexico, to have it in June. Is there the potential we could have it in July? Is that flexible for you and your and NMED?
Sure, Sue. Thank you. Yeah, we were shooting for late June. That was our preference. Yeah, to try to get this rule in place to protect workers this summer. So that's why we're shooting for that date in late June. We of course we'll work with the board.
Thank you, Mr.
Yeah.
Mr. Prince. Yes, Mr. Genoa.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members. Of course, whatever works for the board is what we'll work with. We understand that, of course. So, but if we push this into early July, I think obviously we'll work with the board and whatever we need to do to schedule.
Thank you. Yes, and just looking at the board and Mr. Hunker too. So what are your thoughts? Yes, Vice Chair.
So my thoughts are we have to push it into July, and I realize you don't want to push it too far out, but if not, we'll have to pull it back and you'll lose more time. So that is a challenge there. So would
Correct.
July be more amenable?
Yes, Madam Chair and Vice Chair, we certainly are open to a July hearing date.
Okay. Yes, Member Ely or Member Garcia.
4th of July, and is it an issue to schedule the hearing during that week? Are people taking the whole week off? I wonder.
I'm here.
You have no life? Oh, okay.
And Member Hunker, are you going to be here for the 30th, the week of June 30th?
Is this working now? Still not working.
Yeah, because people may be taking that
Right.
the 4th of July week off,
Right.
or so maybe the week after. So we have hearings 2 weeks in a row then.
Right. Yeah, so that week, 4th of July lands on a Friday. Could we squeeze it in? You were thinking 2 days? June 30th and July 1st. And I'm looking to Mr. Prince and Mr. Genoy.
Yeah, Madam Chair, we can, yeah, certainly work with those dates. Thank you.
Members of the board, what do you? I'm just throwing out options here.
It works for me.
Member Bitzer,
We go any further in the other direction, then we're poaching on Bastille Day, and I don't want that. Viva la Revolution. So,
June 30th and July 1st, 2-day hearing, is that correct?
Madam Chair, yes, that's correct.
Member Honker. That doesn't work for you? Okay. Yes, what about the July 7th and July 8th? No. Are you out most of July, Member Hunker? The beginning?
I sent a chat.
Right. Okay. Because if we don't have Member Hunker that first 2 weeks, then we're going back into the third week.
I'm out.
Oh, okay.
Oh, July 3rd. We need to do it after. Sure, should do it. Because it's
Week of the 21st.
no,
I'm out only on the 25th of July. But then we're moving really past the,
But you know, it has to
Yeah.
take 60 days in the New Mexico Register anyway, so it's not going to be
okay,
a rule for 60 days after we finish here.
good point, Member Garcia. All right, so we're looking into July. And you're saying July, that week of July 21st, is that the week that we're looking at?
yes, we have that hearing July 18th. So, yeah. So we'll be back here Monday for 2 more hearings, or I'm sorry, for another hearing.
2 more days. Are you available the
tw-
July 21st and 22nd? Member Hunker? Oh, you're not available. How about,
I just have to.
or could we do the July 16th and 17th? And then we'll have the hearing by Member Garcia. What about the July 16th and 17th, Member Hunker?
Member Hunker has written in the chat that he's available the weeks of July 14th and July 21st.
Thank you, Ms. Jones. And Member Bitzer?
I'm good.
You're good. All right, I think we found a date, 16th, 17th.
And is the hearing officer.
And then the hearing officer, I think, Ms. Jones, do we have a hearing officer available on July 16th and 17th?
I believe Miss Orth is available.
Okay,
I can reach out to Mr. Virtue if you'd like as well.
Okay. and yes. Yes, Member
Well, just
Garcia.
one thing, I hate to be a pessimist, but we probably should allow spillover in case 2 days doesn't do it.
Mhm.
And so considering the Friday hearing should be no more than 2 hours, we could use the rest of the day for this if we need be, I suppose.
Yes, Vice Chair.
I will ask Mr. Prince that same thing I asked Mr. V Hill, that if this progresses in a way that it looks like you're going to need more than 2 days, or possibly 3, and if we set it up this way, that you work with the hearing officer to arrange that so we can have more time to hear the hearing.
Vice, Chair Smith, Vice Chair, so, that's, we understand it. That's a possibility, for sure, and we'll work with the board and the hearing officer to accommodate, all of the comments and participation by the public.
And if I understand correctly, I think they only have to work with the hearing officer to help make that schedule change.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
And I'm thinking about spillover. Would we want to do the 15th and 16th in case we have the 17th?
Well, we just write the notice
Okay.
so that it's open-ended.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes. What about others, 15th, 16th? All right.
Yes.
Okay. Why don't we do 15th and 16th? And then if we'll have the 17th if there's spillover.
Oh, shoot.
Oh, no? Yes, Member Garcia. Oh, it's okay. Well, we can just, I guess, go back. 16th, 17th. Yes. Okay. That sounds good. With that, so we have, looking at a date and then looking at, a hearing officer. Ms. Jones, you have mentioned that Ms. Orth, is available on that date?
The last time I spoke to her, she said her July was open.
Okay. I think those are all the logistical details I think we need to consider. May I have a motion? Member Ely?
So I move that we hold a hearing on EIB 25-11R in the matter of proposed new regulation 11.5.7 NMAC, heat illness and injury prevention, beginning on July 16th and 17th and possibly spilling over into the 18th, with a hearing officer as to be coordinated between the department and our chairman.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Member Ely and Member Bitzer for your second. With that, I don't see any other discussion. Ms. Jones, would you please do a roll call vote on Member Ely's motion?
I will. Member Bitzer, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
And Member Ely?
Yes.
Member Garcia?
Yes.
Member Honker?
Yes.
Thumbs up. Okay. Chair Sweeney?
Yes.
Vice Chair Trujillo?
Yes.
The motion passes.
Thank you, Ms. Jones, and thank you, Mr. Prince and Mr. Genoway for coming today.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you, board members. We are at our item number 6, next meeting and upcoming matters. I think right now, yes, Vice Chair Trujillo.
Oh, no, I am in June. So, okay, it's scary.
Skip you, okay. Yeah, so I think we do have, Ms. Jones, I think we have a matter that will be coming up for our, April meeting.
Yes, it is. If you choose to have it, the meeting is on April 25th. And the petition recently received is EIB 2515, El Rancho Escondido's petition for hearing.
Thank you, Ms. Jones for that. And, so just alerting the board, that we will be most likely having a meeting on April. What was the date here? Yes, 25th. All right. Any other, discussions? Yes. Yeah, it's just a petition. Thank you so much. Is there anything else we need to discuss? I don't hear any. All right, then we are on agenda item number 7, adjournment.
I'll move we adjourn.
Thank you, Member Bitzer.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Vice Chair Trujillo. See no other discussion. Ms. Jones, would you please do a roll call vote on Member Bitzer's motion to adjourn?
Yes, I will. Member Bitzer, your vote.
I'll vote yes.
Member Ely,
Yes.
Member Garcia,
Yes.
Member Honker,
Yes.
thumbs up. Chair Sweeney,
Yes.
Vice Chair Trujillo.
Yes.
We are adjourned.
Thank you, Ms. Jones, and thank you everybody for coming today and members of the board. We got some work coming up, so thank you for being here.
Can we be hearing next month?